Let's go to the marquee game of the weekend, depending on who you ask. It's the number one ranked Texas Longhorns traveling to Columbus to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State around a 2.5-point favorite, but that number has fluctuated between 1.5 and 2.5. 12 o'clock Eastern time, this game will be on Fox. This is a rematch of last year's college football playoff semifinal. In that Cotton Bowl game, Ohio State, of course, emerged with a 2-touchdown victory, but it wasn't secured until the final moments when Jack Sawyer had the strip sack. They take it back to the house, put the game on ice en route to a national championship. This might be a battle between the two best rosters in the sport. So sit back, grab your popcorn, and enjoy the fireworks. It's going to be amazing. It features two of the best coaches in the sport. Steve Sarkisian, an amazing offensive mind, but has done a tremendous job of revitalizing a proud Texas program and stockpiling it with talent all over the roster. Ohio State and Ryan Day, he has been incredible there in Columbus. A 30-win against 3-loss campaign in his tenure. The guy almost never loses against anybody not named Michigan. Yes, he lost to Oregon last year, but that was close. If it's not Michigan, Ohio State has had just about everybody's number in the Ryan Day tenure dating back over the last few years. Let's look at the quarterback matchup. I think there is a heavy, heavy emphasis on the quarterback play in this game. I don't think that should surprise anybody. Let's start with Texas's Arch Manning. This is the long-awaited era that we've all been waiting for as college football fans. Regardless of who you're rooting for, I think everybody is naturally curious to see what Arch Manning does this upcoming season. Now, he's not a complete unknown. There was a lot of promise shown in relief last year when he filled in for an injured Quinn Ewers. He was 2-0 in his starts, but it wasn't against top-flight competition. However, he did show off a skill set that was pretty remarkable. In the game against UT San Antonio, he became the first quarterback in the FBS or the NFL in the last 25 years to record a touchdown pass of over 75 yards, a touchdown run of over 65 yards, and another touchdown pass of over 50 yards, all in the same game. So the ceiling for Arch Manning is outrageous. Now, can he live up to the potential? We'll find out against top-flight competition, because this will be a huge step up in competition than anything he has seen up until this point. On the other side, it's Ohio State's Julian Sayin, emerged victorious from a very competitive preseason quarterback battle to replace the departing Will Howard. Really incredible pedigree. We know he's a former 5-star product. We also know he's a number 3 quarterback in the country, or depending on the service, a top 3 quarterback in the country in the 2024 recruiting class. And he was the MVP of the Elite 11 finals a couple years back. Now, we have not seen him on the field very much. He had just 27 snaps last year. Those are scattered across 4 games. He completed 5 of 12 passes for 84 yards and 1 touchdown. Over the last 20 years in college football, quarterbacks making their first ever start against a team ranked number 1 in the nation are a combined 0-18. So that is significant when evaluating this possibility for Julian Sayin. Question number 1. Can Texas's revamped O-line rise to the occasion? Now, this group, for the most part, is undergoing a total overhaul. They have to replace 4 of their 5 starters from a group that was a finalist last year for the Joe Moore Award. They have to replace a staggering 4,000 plus offensive snaps from the 2024 season. They also lost a pretty significant rotational player in a preseason knee injury to Andre Kojo, who was in a battle for that starting right tackle spot. Now, Steve Sarkisian knows this. I expect him to get the ball out of Arch Manning's hands quickly. I expect him to try and neutralize the pass rush with deception throws, screen passes, draws, what have you, to take advantage of some inexperienced defensive ends. Because on the other side, Ohio State, their defensive line, they have some similar reloading that they need to do. Now, they lost their entire starting front off the national championship run last year. JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Tyleik Williams, and Ty Hamilton. They're all gone. However, those guys are going to be backfilled by guys that played a lot of football over the last few years. You got a junior in Kenyatta Jackson. You got a senior in Caden Curry. Those have both been playing a lot of football the last few years. You also, on the interior, have some guys that could rise to the occasion in McDonald and Houston, who they both really like on the interior of that defensive line. So they're all blue chip players across the front. They might not have that big game experience as a starter, but they've played enough football to know that group can potentially take over the game if Texas's offensive line is not up to the task. Let's go to question number 2. How does Texas handle the Ohio State weapons? We already know about Ohio State's wide receivers. It's the best, arguably the deepest group of wide receivers in the entire country. It all starts with Jeremiah Smith, nightmare matchup. He's nearly 225 pounds at 6'3" and change. He is arguably the best overall player in college football. He's a legitimate Heisman Trophy contender, and he's coming off one of the most ridiculous freshman seasons we've ever seen. Went for 76 catches, 1,300 yards, and 15 touchdowns. However, the last time he played against the Texas Longhorns, Texas used a really impressive game plan against Jeremiah Smith. They held him to a staggering 1 catch for 3 yards. Now, Texas defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski is amazing. Can they replicate the successful strategy that they used in the Cotton Bowl a few months back? That's where they dedicate 2 defenders to Jeremiah Smith pretty much the entire game. They have to kind of pick their poison. Did they double Jeremiah Smith with a corner and All-American safety Michael Taft, which potentially leaves you vulnerable to the other 2 weapons that Ohio State has at their possession? Junior Carnell Tate is no slouch. He had 52 for 730 last year, and their slot receiver Brandon Ennis also very capable of beating one-on-one coverage. Now, Texas's secondary was extremely good last year. They allowed the 7th fewest passing yards per game in the country at just under 174 yards a game. And they finished tied for first in the FBS with 22 interceptions. So what will Pete Kwiatkowski do? Will he double Jeremiah Smith and leave the other guys on islands? Or will he play a little bit more across the board, trying to defend all parts of the field? I'll be fascinated to see exactly how they do it. I think they'll double Jeremiah Smith. I don't know how you can let that guy get open as often as he did throughout last season, except for the game against the Texas Longhorns. Let's go to question 3. Can Texas's pass rush get home? Now, this is an incredible group of edge rushers. It's led by sophomore edge rusher Colin Simmons, who really burst on the scenes last year with 9 sacks as a true freshman. But he's not the only one. They have a few others that can all create a lot of problems, like Ethan Burke and Trey Moore. They have a bunch of guys that can breathe fire off the edge. But off the ball is Anthony Hill. He is the heart and soul of this defense. Had 113 tackles last year, had 8 sacks. He can blitz. He can play off the edge. He's an eraser at the second level. And they're going against an Ohio State offensive line that is really, really solid on the interior. I look at where they're at guard to guard. I think they're really good. Luke Montgomery, Carson Hintzman, Tigre Shabola, that's a real strength. The edges, a little bit of a question mark. So the strength of the edge rushers against what might be a little bit of a question mark at tackle is something we'll be watching very early in this ballgame. Question number 4, how good are Texas's weapons? Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Mosley, transfer over from Stanford. Handful of really talented freshmen. I think a very under-the-radar addition of Jack Endries from Cal. He'll play the tight end spot. He can stretch the field vertically. How good will this group be? Because we know what Ohio State's going to try to do. They want to play a lot of man. They want to create some confusion for Arch. And if those guys can win on one-on-ones, that could alter how Matt Patricia wants to play, the new defensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Question number 5. Maybe the biggest question here. Which quarterback do you trust more? This one's pretty simple for me. It's Arch Manning. And I watched every single one of Arch Manning's passes from last year, and I came away really, really impressed. Great deep ball accuracy, pretty good on the intermediate, and that's where he was last year. I'm imagining that collectively has improved drastically from where he was the year ago. I also went back and watched every throw from Julian Sayin last season. I was a little bit underwhelmed with some of the accuracy. Couple throws that were way off the mark. He did have a really nice throw on the move that resulted in his only touchdown in his career. I do think he throws a nice ball. I think it's a pretty ball. I think he'll be much better than he was a year ago. But right now, based on what I saw on tape last season, Arch Manning has a pretty significant edge over Julian Sayin. Now, I think Julian Sayin might have better personnel around him at wide receiver, but we'll find that out as the season goes along. But because of the quarterback edge I'm giving to Texas, I will take the Texas Longhorns to win this game in Columbus in what should be a thrilling Week 1 opener.